said, the 30th of November 2027 is when the personal branding bubble will burst. And there's so many things to unlearn, because the element of personal branding, there's always the assumption that you're doing these things because you want to become an influencer. And then that's completely not the point. I completely disagree with that.
Why?
I suppose so many people are scared that they're going to mispronounce a word or get something wrong or something like that. That used to be me as well, but with that, it really just highlights the fact that you're human. Humans make mistakes, humans say things incorrect at times.
There was always a quiet voice in the back of your mind that you weren't good enough.
Throughout that time, I suffered a lot from imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome was a big thing for me in terms of understanding my sort of talents and my gifts in order of what I can do and what I can do for others as well.
If you don't edit your videos, doesn't professionalism drop?
That is a good point. What I would say to that is,
Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 22 of the FMU Founders Mindset Unfiltered podcast. In today's world, it feels like everyone's being told constantly they need to build a personal brand. Post more, be louder, be seen. However, for a lot of entrepreneurs, this just adds a lot more pressure onto their backs. Luckily for them, the guest I'm joined here with today helps with that very problem, but from a different angle. By creating his own framework called P.H.A.S.E s, he helps entrepreneurs move away from random posting and instead build strategic personal brands that lead to real opportunities. He's the expert, so I'm going to let him speak further about this throughout the episode. But without further ado, I would love to welcome Tariq Peters onto the podcast. Tariq, it's lovely to have you join us today.
excellent, amazing intro, man. Thank you very much for having me, Albert. Thank you.
I appreciate it. How are you, Tariq?
Yeah, I'm all good, man. Every day's a blessing, like I say, man. On my YouTube, I'm saying every day's a blessing. So now, happy to be here, man. All good. How about you?
All good from my side. You know how it is. Busy. But that's the life.
Yeah, no, I hear it.
Tariq, you help founders turn their personal brand into revenue and opportunities. But personal branding is often dismissed as vanity. Tell me, what's the darkest and most frustrating moment that you've had building your brand?
I think it's that mindset element, in my personal opinion, and that's the reason why I'm so excited to be here to talk about that mindset element, because with building a personal brand, there's so many sort of layers and obstacles to it as well. And I suppose with various different people, there may be different obstacles or frustrations or blockers that's in the way, especially mentally as well. And I think for me, that was the initial thing that I had to effectively work through and get over that side of the hurdle as well. Like we mentioned YouTube earlier, and then now I'm only really kind of honing in on my YouTube, and I'm uploading content every day now on YouTube now, just as a way to document that personal branding journey. But had you asked me if I would be doing something like that maybe 2-3 years ago, I would have said that you're crazy. There's no way I could be doing something like that and putting my face on the screen and the camera. So during that time, it was a lot of like lack of camera confidence, just thinking about what other people are going to be thinking about what I'm doing or what they have to say as well. Very much thinking about the thoughts and opinions of other people was something that really kind of kept me stuck in that situation. And funny enough, all it kind of took was me jumping out of a plane 10,000 feet for me to actually realize that it's really about how you are doing it for yourself, really. I'm not saying you have to be completely selfish in that regard, but you need to be selfish with your life in terms of how you want to build it as well. And if you're not happy with the situation, then you're in a position where you can move, you know what I mean? The saying goes that you're not a tree, you can move. You're not in that same place. You don't have to be positioned in that same place if you don't want to be there as well. And I think it's that mindset part that really keeps people stuck as well. And personal branding now has blown up, as I'm sure you know as well. And more importantly, it's provided so much leverage and opportunity for people to not only build their personal brands, but to allow leverage for additional opportunities that they may have not even thought was even possible for them. And then even more so job security in this current sort of job market as well. Just having a personal brand and position yourself as not only the obvious choice, but a key person of influence in your sort of industry is honestly the best way to go about things in this job market. So I would say the mindset part that I had to get over was the hardest for me.
100. And that's what quite a few people say when it comes to even just starting a business. But for certain people that might not be able to jump out of planes, what other ways could you push through that that hard patch?
I think it's accepting the fair, accepting and embracing the elements of there's going to be things that is going to be foreign to you. You're not going to necessarily understand it at the time. There may be particular moments where you are really not sure of the approach and the steps to go about things as well. And I'm always an advocate for learning from others. I always say that you can learn absolutely anything from everyone as well. So it's in your best interest to be a sponge as well. So throughout my career, that's what I've been. I've been a sponge and I've been very receptive to feedback before I moved on to more pursuing the entrepreneurial journey. But before, when I was working 9 to 5, very much forthcoming on feedback, wanting to know how I can improve, how I can do better, and just really not kind of hiding away from the fact that some days are not going to be the best days and not everything is going to be perfect. But if you take that one step and think of it as 1% better every day, then that's the best way that you can really approach that element of building that personal brand and really kind of setting yourself forward for more success in that as well. And as you kind of do it more, then you start to get a lot more comfortable and a lot more confident in the pursuit of what you're doing as well. And then once you kind of identify your sort of roadmap and your plan, I always say with my clients, my friends, my peers, when it comes down to anything you're looking to do in your life, personal branding wise, think of the ultimate goal. What is the ultimate goal for you? And then reverse engineer that process. And now that we have so much tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, all those AI tools, honestly, you can really kind of take time to build a roadmap and then use ChatGPT to really break it down step by step in terms of like what's the very first thing you can do to get started in that regard as well. So I would say take time with it, take small steps, and believe in the compound effect because the compound effect is really real, man.
Without a doubt. Sorry, there's a difference between starting a business and starting a business with you as the brand. What's the hardest part about running your business with you as a brand, especially when it comes to scaling the business?
Yeah, I would say really and truly, I always advise on the idea that there's sort of three elements that I believe in when sort of building that roadmap or building a sort of £1 million personal brand. And that's something I'm documenting as well. But ultimately, it's the personal brand, as we mentioned as well, sort of how you're perceived and how you present yourself through the lens of others, through the work that you're doing, your interests, what you do, who you serve, and why you do the things that you do. And then also that business brand element is more so focused solely on the company as well. So ideally, when it comes down to sort of scaling on that regard, as a personal brand, you are the biggest fan and supporter of the business brand. You shout about your business each and every day because effectively that's your baby, you know what I mean? And then when that business sort of grows and scales and effectively grows up, it's its own entity. So in that regard, for the business brand should never really necessarily speak about the founder or the CEO in that regard on that personal level. It could be fine to reference it based on the elements of business and any particular sort of news and industry news that ties in and relays back to the actual business. But as far as that personal element, I don't believe that those lines should be blurred. And I think sometimes there's many founders who particularly blend the lines because they're not sort of sure of how to go about it in terms of building both a personal brand and a business brand as well. And with the element of building a personal brand, it doesn't necessarily need to be something so massive and I suppose dramatic if you are scaling and building a business already, but it can be as anything as developing a newsletter or a Substack, which is very much an intimate space in the internet where you can share your expertise and share your stories from the lens of building your business, as opposed to the other way where you're in your business brand and you're talking about your sort of origin story of how you done that. I think it should be sort of separated with the two, in my personal opinion.
Tariq, what's actually the benefits of boosting your personal brand? Is it that you can connect to people more easier, or you can relate to people? They know that they can relate back to you. What's the benefits?
The possibilities are endless, man. The possibilities are endless. But what comes up to me when it comes down to that, when people ask me, is that it's, like I say, leverage and the opportunity to, like you mentioned, build your network and expand as well. But as you know as well, we are in the era of interest media as well. There's so many gurus saying that now, and I really reinforce that point because back in the day, I suppose, with social media, when you're connected with everyone, it's more or less just close friends, family, your close knit circle. But now, with the way that interest media has formed, you can be scrolling through based on your algorithm of the things that you're interested in or the things that you like as well. So now has not, it's been a big opportunity now in terms of the interest media part aligning with the personal brand, because it's all about what you can do to build your tribe. And there's some people who may do so many different things and they may have so many different passion points and hobbies that they effectively play it down that it's not necessarily such a hobby that people enjoy as well. Let's talk like puzzles, for example. Puzzles is something that's quite a niche in itself,
It's
but
quite niche, yeah.
not everyone does puzzles. Me personally, I'm not really a fan of puzzles, but there are people in this world who completely love puzzles. And if you find a way to not only build a community around that, but then showcase your interest of you not only doing puzzles, but then showcasing your life as an individual, sort of navigating in the world, with puzzles being the thing that really ties it all together. That's how you can really build a tribe and use that effectively to boost your personal brand. And once you do that, then you get in a position where you can start to align yourself for those networking opportunities, or you can start to amplify your content to reach different people. And before you know it, you could be there talking about the top 10 puzzles of 2026 by the end of the year, if that's something that you're sort of passionate about as well. So with that, there's so many sort of leeways of your personal brand aligning with your passions and your interest as well. And I think that is a very big opportunity to really step into that zone based on the things that you would do anyway, with or without a personal brand, or with or without the idea of financial gain as well.
So what you're saying is that say if you've got a business and you're quite worried that people aren't gonna like the product, people aren't gonna be that sure about what you're doing. Personal branding allows you to find those people that will definitely have those interests.
Yes, most definitely. And then when you get into that position of doing that, it's all about just building as you go as well, building a community of like-minded people who are involved in the same things that you are. They're passionate about the same things that you do. And ultimately, it just really just hones in that fact. And then when you are deemed as the key person of influence or the obvious choice within that particular industry or remit, then it helps a lot. And it all breaks down in a much more, I suppose, in-depth nature when it comes down to the digital marketing aspect, or the aspect of search engine optimization and being able to be found on Google. And all those things really kind of hones in on the element of, once you build that personal brand element and you build your tribe, it can be easier searching your name on Google and you can be found. It's not going to be hard to find you. And at this moment in time, you want to be visible, but not only visible, but you want to be credible. And I think that's the main thing that has been an important element as of recent, in my opinion.
Well, that brings me on to what I'm gonna say now. As a brand, especially one that helps you improve your personal brand, we're told post, post, post. You can keep posting, but there's no point if you don't have expertise in that field. How important is it having a portfolio or something that you can show as proof that you have that expertise?
I would say it's important. I would say that it's important, but then it also depends on what stage you are at within your sort of business, or within your sort of journey of building a personal brand. And I would say that the idea of building that portfolio came from my background, from everything, I suppose. Initially, before everything started for me, years ago, I was a music journalist. So with
Wow.
that, I was writing all sorts of reviews interviews and content for everything within like the UK music sort of hub as well. And what that done for me was kind of help me to build that sort of, as you mentioned, that portfolio of actual examples of my work as well, all written content and interviews to showcase my sort of ability as a journalist and the opportunity to collaborate with PR agencies. That meant that I was going to different shows and covering different events as well. So with that sort of expertise inside, that helped me to effectively get my first job into sort of that PR realm in terms of PR. So that was quite interesting. And it really kind of stands true that if you are able to build some sort of portfolio within yourself to showcase who you are, your interests and your passion points within particular realms of what industry you're trying to enter to, then that's one of the most impactful ways as well. And I think it's about showcasing those transferable skills and how you can incorporate those transferable skills within your personal brand to effectively shout about all the good stuff you're doing. And I suppose that it can be quite hard and it should never be deemed as you sort of being vain or showing off or anything like that. It's really a case of you compounding and building to showcase yourself as the obvious choice for the industry, because you're not just showing the work that you're doing, but then you're showing the underlying skills, the commitment, the discipline, the creativity that it takes in order to be able to do those things as well. So I think within whatever industry, I think it's definitely important to kind of build that portfolio that you can always reinforce and bring it back as well. And I think it's more important to also develop an evergreen portfolio, which I call it. So it's effectively just having a living, breathing database of all of the things that you're doing. So then as you're kind of building your personal brand or building your business brand in that sense, you have a hub where you're always collating new information and new data to showcase why you are the obvious choice for these things, and you're able to share it with anyone, whether it's a potential prospect or client or anyone like that. You kind of have a living and breathing demonstration of all your abilities to kind of prove that you are the right person for the job.
Now, Tariq, just in those 15 minutes that we've been speaking, I can already tell that you've got quite a bit of knowledge on personal branding, on boosting your personal branding. Now, just like phases, there is quite a few frameworks that tries to help with this exact same problem. But you publicly disagreed with frameworks like Gartner's partnership branding. I mean leadership branding, saying that you shouldn't tailor your brand to fit various leadership styles. Do you think many mainstream personal branding strategies are flawed? And if so, why?
I would say yes. And my reason for saying that is because personal branding is, as much as we talk about it quite often, or as far as I talk about it, I talk about it all the time, but it's still relatively new in its development, and there's so many sort of areas to how it can be developed. And even when I speak with like peers in my industry that are within the personal branding remit as well, one thing that I've noticed is that personal branding can effectively be the ecosystem of everything, but the difference between the way that we work comes down to sort of our sort of backgrounds and our abilities. My background is in PR and marketing, so those are my main remits of how I approach personal branding. Whereas I've collaborated and spoken with people who have been doing personal branding from the lens of video editing and being able to visually, aesthetically pleasing show your personal brand in that regard as well. So there's different layers of how you can effectively develop and showcase your personal brand through the lens of what you're trying to do. Is it a case of you wanting to have more credibility and you want to be positioned as an expert across different sort of publications or podcasts? There's an avenue for that. Are you more looking to develop more of a visually engaging sort of personal brand where you're sort of maybe an aspiring model, or you're looking to do something within that realm where being seen is the most important element? You may consider looking at someone that does personal branding from the lens of video and how you're able to capture that essence of what they're doing as well. So that all varies. But with that, personal branding all comes from that entrepreneurial journey, I believe. Personal branding was never effectively developed and brought up within the corporate environment. And with that, there's ways that the corporate world, I suppose, kind of waters down the elements of what it means, and that level of spark and creativity as well. And from that Gartner piece that you mentioned as well, from reading it, it kind of felt like for me to play like a chameleon in order to get into the positions that you want to get into. And I don't believe in that regard that you should automatically change your sort of demeanor and your behavior in order to get into the places that you want to get to. And as we spoke previously about interest media, we are in a position where everyone has a tribe, everyone has a community. And for you to say that you are going to effectively change your positioning and change your demeanor in order to be in these particular rooms, I think it dilutes and sort of downgrades the elements of what personal branding means. And then if you are not a person that can effectively live and breathe and be comfortable with who you are on a day-to-day basis, it's always going to be a lot harder trying to be someone that you're not. And with that, I suppose in the corporate realm of things, we're always kind of taught to play the game, kind of position yourself in the right places. And even if it may not even sit right with you, just kind of do that in order to just maintain and to just make sure that your job is secure as well. And through that, you kind of have no choice but to play ball and to alternate in those different ways as well. But I think from that element, it loses the sort of brilliance and the creativity elements of building a personal brand through that lens as well. So yeah, I would say that I would agree on that side, to be fair, yeah.
I completely agree. I think that there's always a group for everyone. If someone doesn't like something that you do, I promise you there'll be another group that absolutely loves it. So that's how important it is to just stay true to yourself and just be real. That's all it is.
Honestly, yeah, and then sorry to even, continue, but then what you said is hit the nail on the head. Be true to yourself as well. And I suppose what really even got me on that entrepreneurial journey is kind of realizing that in some instances, I wasn't necessarily making the right moves for myself. I was maybe doing it more so for earning more money or being in a position where I have a higher title. And then it really took me a while to sit back and think, why am I actually doing this? I'm really doing it for the more money, knowing that I'm not particularly happy in the places that I am, or I'm not particularly happy for it just for the sake of a title. And I would say for me, personal branding takes a lot of unlearning as well as the learning element. There's so many things to unlearn because the element of personal branding, there's always the assumption that you're doing these things because you want to become an influencer. And then that's completely not the point. I completely disagree with that ideology because where is past that now. The creator sort of industry has really blended with the corporate world as well. There's so many different people who have found their niche and their sort of community within the internet as well. So with that, it really just hones in on the point that personal branding is so diverse in the pursuit that you can't really put yourself in a position where you're not happy with it. And you need to understand that the content part is really the engine that allows you to drive home all the things that you're doing as well. And I suppose a lot of people, they still associate content with influencers. And I think that's why some people are kind of still not necessarily taking personal branding as seriously as they should.
See, Tariq, what's crazy is that and this can happen anywhere. You'll see moments where you're trying to fit in to the crowd, whether it comes to work, whether it comes to, let's say, going to the gym, whether it comes to making a new group of friends. It can happen at any time. But as you just said, there's clear proof that if you stick to yourself, there's content creators out there that have found their niche. They've monetized off that, and look at them now. Which is why you guys listening at home as well should always stick to your beliefs, always stay true to yourself. God knows you might be the next big thing. You will be.
You have to try. And it's hard because you can ask anyone. I'm literally screaming at everyone every day. You need to build your personal brand. You need to really step up on the content side of things. And with that, it's all about the compounding effect. And unfortunately, it can be very hard, especially in this job market and this current economy, to just look at someone and say, you need to build your personal brand because there isn't any sort of immediate gratification with it. It's always delayed because it's that compounding effect. But then when it eventually happens and everything connects, then you'll be thinking why did I not do it in the first place? But then I suppose it can be quite hard to break out of that mindset when you're kind of in a position where you're working 9 to 5, you're working every single day in terms of making ends meet. So to look at someone and then you're asking them to take time out of their day to build their personal brand, for some people can just be a bit sort of strange. Or just like, why I don't have time to do this, or why are you asking me to do this? But then it's a tricky one. But suppose you have to have that belief and faith in yourself in terms of what you're doing to even get started. And as you get started, then you start to see how the things align in terms of where you're looking to go as well.
Even if people are struggling, that's why we have people like you that build frameworks and helps them out. Tariq, let's talk about phases. First of all, can I get a full form of the abbreviation?
Yes, of course. Yes. So with the phases framework, the P is for positioning, the H is for hook, the A is for amplification, the S is for strategic partnerships, the E is for engagement, and the last S is for sustainability. That's the phases framework.
Why phases?
What is interesting, when I left my role in terms of the pursuit of building my personal brand, building my business and scaling, when I left, I was kind of in a rut, I would say. I wasn't too sure of my next sort of position and my next sort of role. And as I was kind of pondering on sort of life and how I kind of got to this stage, I kind of realized that every part of life has always been a phase, a different phase of my life, a different phase or a new phase into that. And from there, I was thinking that building a personal brand really does come down to all the phases in your life, because everything always ties down into your why and how you even got there. My sort of love for writing, for communication, for marketing and PR stemmed from when I was very young in that regard. I was doing, for example, music blogging, as I mentioned, and that marketing side for myself without even earning money like that from that sort of role, but it was something that I loved and enjoyed as well. So throughout the process, I suppose, of looking at the phases of my life, it really brought me back to where I am today, where I'm still kind of doing that sort of content and doing those sort of things. And I realized that that personal brand part plays a part. So I got my paper and pen out because I always love writing on the pen and paper as well. And I really just wanted to break down what was a decade of my life trying to figure out what are the key components of building a personal brand. And in the actual truth of things, I would say that the phases framework as an entirety, with it being such a impactful framework for not just for myself, but then the people and clients I work with as well. At some stage, all of those areas were something that I was kind of lacking in one way or the other. I felt the positioning part, I felt navigating life. I wanted to get into the music industry with the music journalism, but then I suppose it was that sort of fear of being visibly seen and being outside as well. I was effectively hiding behind a logo. So that positioning was never going to help in that regard. So that was the tricky part. The hook element for me, it was kind of not necessarily knowing what can have people to sit there and think, oh wow, or to want to actually indulge and learn more as well. So that was a process in itself as well. The amplification, I didn't want to be on social media. I didn't want to post any content because I just didn't feel comfortable with it. I didn't like the idea of doing it. And I was really much keeping myself to myself. And it came down like even strategic partnerships as well. I'm very much now aligned with collaboration and really working with more people as well and helping everyone kind of rise up as well. But in regards to that, previously I was very much, I still say I'm quite introverted in some regards now, but before I was very much to myself. I wouldn't necessarily do anything that kind of involved other people, not because I didn't want to collaborate and grow with others. It was more so just me being particularly introvert and shy and not necessarily knowing the right approach as well. And I suppose the engagement and sustainability, it's all those sort of areas in my life that kind of honed into those sort of 6 core pillars for me that I really felt was something that I can document and build and showcase how these are the most key areas of building a personal brand and then working with other people so they can actually see the power of the framework as well. So yeah, that's the story of the framework.
There we go. Tariq, sorry, well, what does using this framework, phases, do for someone who wants to build their personal brand, and why would they go to you?
Yeah, so I call my framework a credibility driven visibility system. So, in that regard, when I mentioned previously the importance of personal branding, not only is the visibility part important, of course, it's important. You need to be visible if you want to be seen or heard in that regard. But what I found over the years as well, and even through my experience of being in PR for almost a decade, earned media and that level of that third party credibility is super important. It's somewhat like me, I would say I'm a fantastic cook, right? But if I came to you and just said how great I am at cooking, you'll just be like, okay, Tariq, we get it, you're good. You may not even necessarily, you might think I'm a bit cocky or a bit arrogant in that regard, but if there is someone else that you kind of look to in high regards and then they let you know that, you know what, Tariq is actually a fantastic cook, automatically you have that level of credibility that you just look at me from a different lens because I never necessarily said it to you or someone from someone that you respect, someone that you admire, or someone that you even appreciate that came with that sort of narrative of what I do and how it's been beneficial for them. So automatically you're going to want to learn more. You're going to want to sort of look to see if it's a worthy investment of being involved within the cooking program, hypothetically in that sense as well. So credibility is super important, and visibility without credibility, I believe, is can in regards be noise. You can just kind of be putting yourself out there, but there's nothing driving home as to why people should trust you, why they should work with you, and what the benefits are of even being within your sort of ecosystem and your remit as well. So, effectively, the phases framework is there to really hone in on the element that visibility is important, but you need to add the credibility part involved if you want to end up with that level of authority for your personal brand to become the obvious choice.
Again, it's going back to that when we said having that portfolio, having that credibility is quite important when it comes to even starting a business of your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
100%.
let's go back. Let's travel in time from founder of Explicit to senior accountant executive to senior communications associate, senior account PR manager, marketing and communication manager to founder of Tariq Peters. What a journey. What a journey. And that has got you to where you're at today. It's quite a leap of faith from stability. Why?
I think throughout life, stability has always been important for me, but then over the years, and then just coming across so many different stories of just the same things of sort of redundancies or people losing their jobs as well in such a sort of crazy climate as well. And I would say that the element of doing these things came from a sense of just being scared, to be fair. I didn't want to, I no longer wanted to be in a position where someone could, for example, turn around and say that my probation has been extended because for whatever reason that they come up with on that regard, or they have to let me go because of budget cuts or any of those things. And then when I sat down and realized that, sadly, and I suppose it varies for some people as well. I know some people who are in fantastic positions within their roles as well and they're thriving, but I've seen so many instances where it's just gone in an instant. And then what usually happens, which I find is quite a problem, is that you will have someone who will be working their jobs and they'll be thriving and developing within their career, and they will neglect sort of that personal branding element, and they'll neglect like using LinkedIn to post and share their content and really kind of positioning themselves, not even for the sake of leaving the company at some stage, but just to really make yourself more well-rounded, to understand that you are not just your company, you are your own person. So with that, there are sort of skill sets and passion points that you have that you can share that can allow people to understand you a lot more, right? But then what I find is that it's only when the situation happens, when a job is lost or there's a redundancy in place, where people will then go on LinkedIn and then they will set their banner to open to work. and then they would just put a post out saying that they're looking for a job. But then throughout that whole process, they never networked with anyone. They never spoke with anyone. They never liked or commented on a post. They never shared any experiences, and then they never effectively built a sort of ecosystem of a support system that can effectively help them for those particular times. And I've seen it time and time again, and I realized I really didn't want to have that be in that position, because effectively every particular area of life has a lack of stability. And I feel that now it's more evident that even these particular jobs that you feel are secure aren't as secure as it seems. And building a personal brand provides that leverage, and it provides that level of job security. And it was through me effectively, consciously and intentionally building my personal brand, which allowed me to effectively to survive, to be fair, in the sort of eye of stability or instability in that case.
There's two sides to being your own boss. And I think, the first side is obviously there's no one telling you any, giving you any shit. Kind of, they can't just turn around. Yep, you're gone. No, nothing like that. That's all on you. However, the second side is that you have no one to turn to, and also it can feel quite lonely. How is it for you?
I would say in some instances it's quite interesting, because as I'm building something that's bigger than myself, it can feel quite I can feel quite misunderstood in some regards. I feel when I speak about the passion of building a personal brand, it's not on the basis of I want to prove anyone right. It's more so that I can effectively see what's happening, where the economy is going, and what really needs to be done in order for you to stay afloat. And all I want is for people to understand that job security isn't as secure as it once was, and it's in our best interest to give ourselves that leverage and job security that I speak about, just to give ourselves a second chance at whatever we decide to do. And I suppose it can be quite difficult when you're trying to explain that from the perspective of someone that doesn't understand at that particular time. And really, I think that's my main mission. That's my main objective in the grand scheme of things, because I've been talking about a deadline when the personal branding bubble will burst. I don't believe the personal branding ideology and the way that we know it will live for forever in that regard. I said the 30th of November 2027 is when the personal branding bubble will burst. There's two reasons for that one. That will be 5 years since ChatGPT launched. In that regard, there will be so many people who have started to utilize the AI technology that they will be able to create consistent content within just a couple clicks, because they have a backlog and documented content that they have done for years on end. So for that reason, they will never effectively ever run out of content or ever run out of ideas, and they'll be in a continuous loop of content creation, which will even be less time with the amount of AI tools and the amount of tools that's available and at arm's reach in terms of utilizing. So on that basis, if you do not focus on your personal brand and you miss that deadline, it's like the ship has sailed effectively. There's going to be so many people who have understood and utilized elements of search engine optimization, GEO as well, AEO, the artificial engine optimization, being able to be found not only on Google but on AI search results is what's going to change the game for everyone. And if you are not found on Google, that's the visibility element at risk. And if there's no one there that can actually vouch for you when you're in a position, say if you lose your job, you have no credibility. You have no visibility and no credibility, which makes it so much harder to navigate a world that's continuously changing and evolving. So with that, I feel misunderstood in terms of my approach of letting people know, but then I understand now that it's in my best interest to document my journey to showcase how it can be done as well. And then when I say that I'm building a £1 million personal brand, it's not on the basis of just having that money in the bank, but it's to really showcase that level of authority and compounding and how that can allow you to have £1 million worth of authority that can translate into revenue and translate into the money and the lifestyle and the life that you want to live. But it just comes down to that discipline and consistency as well, man. That's the hardest part.
Guys, listen to Tariq. You board that ship before it sails, otherwise it'll be too late. We can't stress enough how important it is to build your personal brand, and now is probably the best time to do it. Otherwise, that deadline it's approaching rapidly.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy, and there's gonna be so many people who are going to be visible because they know how to use those AI tools. They know how to generate pictures that look exactly like them, or they even know how to develop podcast content with just AI, and
What?
then it just looks so real that you can't even fathom it.
I hope not. I hope not.
Now,
But
hopefully not, man, because that's the thing, and then that's even the reason why with the content that I put out on YouTube, it's unedited. I don't edit the content because I believe that with as much as I love AI, I can talk about AI all day, but I feel that the element of video authenticity, just having those conversations and speaking your truth is really the gem that is the diamond in the dirt, I should call it, the one that is still going to remain so important in that side of things as well. And I suppose so many people are scared that they're going to mispronounce a word or get something wrong or something like that. That used to be me as well. But with that, it really just highlights the fact that you're human. Humans make mistakes. Humans say things incorrect at times. Humans say things wrong. But that is the imperfections that make you authentic and stand out in a sea of AI automation and a sea of perfect, I would say.
it's actually funny you mention your YouTube videos again because you've got a YouTube channel and I've seen that you post quite consistently. Consistency, first of all, is key. Um, on YouTube, you post your best tips, tricks. You let people know about what's going on, what they're missing out on. And yes, you emphasize on how you shouldn't edit your videos. There's two sides, once again. There's always two sides in there. Always two sides. Obviously, it keeps that authenticity. It helps people really relate to you. It knows that people. It lets people know that you're not fake. But I'm thinking now, if you don't edit your videos, doesn't professionalism drop?
That is a good point. What I would say to that is your personal brand can evolve over time. So I could very well just develop and change my mind and start editing a lot of crazy content at the time of doing things as well. But I suppose there's two parts to this. I think the first part is that when you're doing something that's out of the ordinary or something that is sort of new to you or different to you, the one thing you want to do is make sure that you sort of reduce the barrier to entry. You don't want to make it harder for yourself in order to convince yourself that that's the thing that you want to do. I think if I sat too long on the idea of wanting to start putting YouTube content out and I spent more time thinking about I need to pay for this editor or I need to go and edit this content myself if I can't afford to pay for the editor at the time, or I need to actually get in the process. I think it loses the sort of momentum to actually get started. And I think that's the hardest part for anything, just getting started. And you can make all the excuses in the world until you actually get started. And that was one of the first reasons as to why I wanted to do it, because it was more so just breaking out of the idea that everything needs to be perfect. And with that, it's always good to start from where you're at, because ultimately people will be able to see the journey and they'll be able to see how much you've grown and developed over time as well. So there's sort of a method to the madness in that regard as well. But then, funny with you saying that, I would say that I agree from the business brand standpoint. I think that should be effectively perfect in that sense. It should be very much clean, very much aesthetically pleasing in that regard. I think your business brand should be the perfect alternative of your sort of visibility ecosystem. And with your personal brand, I think you have the actual permission and the luxury in that case to start messy and grow, because people will be able to actually understand and see that, wow, you started from making content and not editing, but then now you started building to the point where not only are you editing the content now, but it still aligns with your truth as well, which I think is the most important thing.
It allows people to look at you and say, "Wow, he started off exactly like me." You know, the imperfections, everything. It allows people to open up, be more comfortable in front of a camera, I'd say so. And again, you said it yourself, you were quite introverted and you were quite scared to be on camera, to talk on camera. Well, you overcame it, but certain people might not be able to. What's your top two tips on how to overcome it and how to just go for it?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say get into a position where you just start to record content that you don't upload or you don't share with anyone. I would say before I even started any of this sort of content, I was just recording, just talking to myself and just getting over my voice and all that sort of stuff as well. So I think all of us go through that sort of
I went through the exact same thing when we started this, and it's true. It is true.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's true. And then I suppose everyone kind of deals with it at different stages of their sort of career or their life in that regard. But I'll say that's the first tip. Definitely start recording on that side of things. And then secondly, you have to listen back. That's the second tip I'll say. You have to listen back, because you're going to start to have an understanding of sort of the things that you say, the wordings, if you may repeat certain words, and you can start to learn how to stop kind of repeating too many words at that stage. And ultimately, you just get more comfortable with the idea of just seeing your face and hearing your voice around a lot more, and then you just have that level of confidence that can translate into other sort of opportunities that you decide to do for yourself as well, and then it just becomes sort of second nature as well. And I think I still have a lot to learn, a lot to grow in regards to that, but once you get started in the actual development of it, then once you kind of get through that baseline of actually posting the content and being comfortable to actually listen to yourself and edit based on what you want it to look like, then that's the best step forward.
You just need to get the ball rolling, get that momentum, and the ball will keep rolling.
Exactly.
That is what it is. Tariq, something else that I saw was the 12 days of Canva AI.
Yes.
Talk me through this.
So as I mentioned, I'm a big fan of AI, big advocate as well. For me, I wanted to develop a sort of campaign, not to necessarily highlight the top 5 or top 10 things I've learned about myself for 2025, but I wanted to align with a sort of development of a set of custom AI tools I developed all by myself on Canva. And I wanted to do it to showcase the power of using Canva AI to develop those interactive tools, but then also to showcase it to the subscribers and those who follow what you can actually do to create more digital experiences and to make things more memorable. And I suppose, like we go back to the corporate side of things, I'm very used to knowing about the whole PDFs, white papers. You'll be spending so much time developing that sort of content, and then no one necessarily reads it or they don't really engage with it as well. So PDFs, I think, are becoming sort of a dying art in that sense. They still remain important where they contain all the information that you need, but in order to effectively turn a potential prospect into a qualified lead who's actually interested in your work, you need to keep them, you need to make things that are memorable. So from that, I developed 12 interactive tools that aligned with the phases framework, all doing different variations of things. For example, mini quizzes, questionnaires, sort of, I don't know, who wants to be a millionaire, sort of do for one of them as well. And it all kind of aligned with just the experience of developing these sort of custom tools and then aligning it with sort of lead generation efforts as well. And I think with building your personal brand in that regard, if you have that particular sort of area that you're interested in or something that inspires you, turn that into a digital experience, turn that into something that makes you memorable, and it allows you to not only capture the data of your potential clients or your customers, but it just allows them to remember you, and then you're always the one that's in mind for when it comes down to just providing that memorable experience through lead magnets and that lead generation effort as well. So that was the first stage of me developing that, and I'll be incorporating some of that within my sort of services and offerings in terms of helping other people to do that as well. And I'm currently working on a sort of ebook that can help to show people how to build their own tools, because with that, there's so many people that do so many different things. And I wanted to kind of show the sort of diversity and the range of the different sort of tools that you can make, just to know that for anyone that's running a business, or they're a coach or consultant or any of the above in that regard, you can make a tool designed based on your methodology and your framework. And it just makes you much more memorable, and someone that makes you feel a lot more like you're future proofing yourself rather than just doing the same thing that everyone else is doing.
Guys, if I was you, I'd definitely tune into this. This is the way to go. People say that being visible online is just about who can shout the loudest. What's your take on it?
Oh, that's an interesting one as well, because I agree, if you are the one that shouts the loudest and you also have the credibility to match, then I suppose the possibilities are endless. But not everyone likes that sort of approach as well. And I would say that experiment with what works best for you. Not everyone wants to be posting sort of 5 days a week or every single day, and maybe your content doesn't necessarily need you to be posting that regularly. It depends entirely on what you're doing. If you're someone who effectively likes to share quick tips and quick gems based on the industry, then you have, I suppose, a lot more opportunity to do more based on frequency and to post a lot more. But if you're more project based and project led, and you like to effectively develop sort of ideas of things, ideologies of ideas that can be converted into actual content ideas, that may take a bit of time. And then that breakdown just requires you to just be a bit more strategic with the amount of posting as well. So I would say it's like the chicken and the egg, which one comes first, to be fair in that regard. But I would say ultimately it comes down to what content you sort of thrive on doing more. If you prefer the element of packaging your content into something that you can showcase and share in various different bursts, then you can do that. But then if you're someone that just prefers sharing quick insights and tips to your actual followers, it all comes down to sort of your sort of angle and your target of why you're doing this. Are you doing this to get more people to agree with you, or are you doing this to actually collate information that you can actually use to turn those potential followers into leads, or better yet, clients as well? So that all comes with the strategy in place with what you're doing and how you decide to do it as well. But I think either or is fine. It just depends on what you feel aligns with kind of building your brand and how you can collate the relevant data for you to effectively nurture over time.
Right. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot quickly. You can only choose one: visibility versus expertise. Which one matters to you the most? You can only choose one. And why?
Mm, I would say expertise.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with expertise. It's a tricky one, but I have to go with it.
I'd say the opposite, but I want to hear why you choose expertise.
So that's a tricky one, but yeah, I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with it. I'd say expertise because ultimately your skill set and the things that you developed over time, you may not necessarily need to be visible on a mass scale. With what you're doing, you may have the skills and expertise that are designed for a particular set niche. So with that, you don't need to be particularly visible in order to earn a living or to generate revenue. You just need to kind of have your small community and circle and live on that side of things as well. And I think if you had the sort of visibility element without the expertise, everyone can see you, but then they don't necessarily know what you do. There's no positioning element in that regard. And then with that, you may fall into the trap of being, so you know that whole saying when it's like, do you wanna have fame, or do you wanna be like famous? Or like what's that sort of vibe? It's like, are you doing it for the money or the fame? And then the fame, granted everyone knows you, but you're not actually doing anything that can convert into something that you can live off. Whereas with the expertise in place, if you just speak with the right people, the chances are you will get the
You'll
opportunities that
you'll
you need
get there.
without the visibility. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, you changed my mind. I had a whole speech ready, but now I'll begin. Now, I should have mentioned this before when you said it, but you went skydiving and that was when you realized what it that was when you realized what it is you wanted to do. You said it sparked something in you. I'm curious, how did skydiving influence your decision? Because if I went skydiving, the only thing I'm thinking about is surviving. I don't know about you, but I'll be scared.
But you know what? What you said is perfect. The surviving element, because with me sort of leaving my role to just try something new, I was in between and I was kind of confused of what my next steps look like as well. So from me literally jumping out of the sky, that was like a metaphor for me that in life you kind of take that leap of faith, and in that regard you survive, you float. So as I was falling, that was kind of me crashing down, and then when the parachute was out and I was literally floating, that was me feeling like you're crashing down, but then you always get to a stage where you not only survive, but then you're thriving, because so the element of me sort of floating, I was like, yeah, this is what it means to thrive. Despite all of the obstacles, despite all of the things that's happened, you're always positioned to thrive if you just take that leap of faith. And I kind of took that to literally, and then I literally took it literally after that, and then I just said, let me just give it a good go, because I suppose me doing that jump kind of made me feel that if I can jump 10,000 feet in the air, then surely I must be able to do anything. So with that, I opted for the freelancing and building and scaling. So yeah, that's the story of that one.
Guys, I'm telling you, if you want to start a business and you're unsure, just jump out of a plane. I promise you, it worked for Tariq. It'll work for you guys. I promise. I might try it myself. How was it?
I would recommend it, honestly. It's good. I'll do it again.
It's on my bucket list, as well as bungee jumping as well. But the worst thing is I'm absolutely terrified about heights. But if I can do that, I can do anything. You're right.
Exactly. And then even with sort of me doing that jump as well, that was the sort of spark of my first blog on my website. I titled it Embracing the Unknown. And then I think that is the part where if you are comfortable to start to learn how to embrace the unknown, despite the fears, despite the objections, or despite what people may say, then you will open yourself to a whole new sort of scenario and situation that you just didn't know was on the other side, just because you kind of took that leap of faith and just stuck to your guns as well.
Yeah, I hear it. Listen, Tori, you've put in a grind, and in result of that, you were named in the PR Week UK 30 under 30, which is an amazing accomplishment. So congratulations for that.
Ah, thank you.
How however, did that did that industry recognition change any expectations from you? Did it put a lot of added pressure onto your back?
Interestingly, when I was awarded that, I just wasn't ready for the sort of reaction, I would say. There was many different sort of agencies, new agencies reaching out to me, congratulating me. They were interested in effectively poaching me and stuff like that as well, to be fair. And then there was loads of sort of eyes on me. And at the time, when I mentioned I was very much introverted into myself as well, I thought I was ready for that sort of acknowledgement and recognition, but truth be told, I don't think I was. There was sort of a lot on that side happening, and it kind of put me back in my shell, I would say. I think I was quite very much not necessarily ready to kind of go forward with that as well. And I wasn't necessarily someone who would, like previously when I'm talking about the whole idea of that vanity inside of things or showing off, that's how I particularly deemed it as at the time as well. So it took a lot, like I said, unlearning. It's the unlearning process of things, because in hindsight, when I look at it, I realize that it adds leverage to the journey that you want to do for yourself as well. And that's why, even when it comes down to like awards and stuff like that, I would say for people, do not look at awards as sort of like a vanity metric or something that you need to be shouting and screaming about, because all in all, it provides you the leverage to showcase that you are good at what you do and you have the ability to really showcase that. And throughout that time, I suffered a lot from imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome was a big thing for me in terms of understanding my sort of talents and my gifts in order of what I can do and what I can do for others as well. So with that, it took a lot of unlearning from that imposter syndrome part to realize that it's no longer a form of like showing off. It's more so me providing and serving for others as well. And that's why a lot of the content I do, I speak a lot on the importance of, facing your fears and not being scared, and to how to tackle imposter syndrome and all those things, because it really ties into the mindset part. And as soon as you get your mindset good, then you can literally fly. Like, it's no joke. And then when I started to incorporate a lot of the new learnings to myself, I started to no longer look at these things as things that I didn't necessarily deserve, but it was all more of that compounding effect to get to the destination I want to get to as well. And then that's why I talk a lot about my sort of journey of wanting to document building that personal brand as well, to showcase it as not a thing as me gloating or showing off, but to showcase the importance of it, and to show that if I can do it from very much humble beginnings, and there's literally nothing stopping you. And it's cliche as well, when people are just saying, if I can do it, you can do it too. But honestly, when I look at my situation and the ups and downs of life, and I've put myself in this position based on, like, I gave myself my own job title. For me, I think that is the power in personal branding, to give yourself a new identity and a new sort of mission and objective that you're pursuing, and you're pursuing because it's your mission. It's not the mission of someone else. It's your sort of desires and dreams. And with that, that's what keeps me going, to be fair. That's what keeps me going.
See, it's funny you mentioned imposter syndrome, and I just want to add on to it as well. It can get you, it can genuinely attack you from anywhere. Whether, again, I'm going to use the same example. Whether you're in school, whether you're at the gym, whether you're starting your own business, imposter syndrome can and most likely will get you, especially when you're just starting. And for you, you said that there was always a quiet voice in the back of your mind telling you that you weren't good enough. How were you able to shut out the voices and get your brand to what it is today?
I started documenting, like my life depended on it. That's what I was doing. So even this, well, last year, 2025, all of the year of 2025, I literally listed everything that happened to me, like the highlights, the wins, the losses slash lessons. Because I always say that a loss isn't a loss; it's always a lesson. But I listed all of those things to really just reinforce what I've been able to do for myself within the year. And I just always document the journey, and I always sort of, I'll say, romanticize life in terms of that. I always see how everything can mean something. Nothing, I don't believe anything, nothing happens for no reason. I feel there's always a reason why these things happen. And when you're able to line it up with your sort of journey as you're documenting as well, then you start to look at it from a position that you've been pretty much ordained to be in a position to do the things that you wanted to do. And like, I'm a big believer in God as well. So with that, I really put my faith in that, with the ultimate idea of serving others as well when they're pushing forward with that. So effectively taking on that objective and mission and making it a lot more bigger than myself kind of remove that sort of idea that imposter syndrome should be a thing. Because if I'm doing it with the idea of sort of having an overfilled cup. So once that cup is overfilled, then I can provide more value and provide more support for those people who want that help, or they want those sort of expertise or that advice. And I'm able to give my best because I focused on being the best rather than sort of talking myself out of it as well. So I would say kind of that thought process and that change of nature really inspired me to just keep pushing and keep going.
There we go. And look where he got you. That's what I'm saying. You just have to carry on pushing through and you'll be all good. All good. Tariq, if I imagine I'm a potential client and I came up to you and I said I needed help scaling my personal brand, what would the whole process look like?
The whole process will be the first thing I'll say is why. Why are you looking to start a personal brand? I would say. What is this sort of oh you go on then, you can answer, you can answer.
I just wanna I wanna get myself out there.
And then so that's the thing. So it may sound pretty annoying, but I will always ask why. I'll continue to ask the why because I find that once you kind of get to the deep root of the why, it helps a lot. It makes a lot more sense because then you could say because I want to get myself out there a bit more, and then you could be like why, and then it just comes down to I want to get more clients per se. And it's just like, oh, why? And then it may sound like an obvious question, but that why could just go into I want to either make more money or I want to serve others. And with that, it's really just kind of honing in and breaking down the why. And then once you have the actual element of why, then you're able to break down the actual objective and the mission that aligns with them as well. Because the same approach you're doing from someone who wants to just genuinely serve others and be useful and be known for that regard would be a different approach than someone that's doing it more for the basis of they just want to generate more revenue. So that approach is two different things in that regard. So it needs to be kind of taken through from that lens. And then once we kind of get to the bottom of the why, then we break it through the elements of the phases framework. So all through the positioning, the elements of the hook, amplification, strategic partnerships who you can work with, engagement, sustainability, we go through that whole approach as a roadmap to look at all the variations of the different ways you can incorporate that framework towards your mission of building that personal brand. We look at the time frame, then we look at the main mission that you're looking to get at the end. And then by then we're looking for actual sort of numbers, values, data points that we can actually have as KPIs that we can work against and work with because KPIs are important. I would say with having an objective and a mission, you also need to have an understanding of sort of the metrics, the numbers and the data points that you want to work with as well, because that helps to understand how closer you're getting to the actual sort of target. And I think a lot of people sort of neglect the data and the metric side. And I think it's incredibly important, especially from the sort of personal branding remit side of things. I think because people believe it's more based on the individual and the person that metrics don't matter. But then looking at those metrics and being able to decipher what you can do to improve on the journey, especially with it being very much online led, is something that I always work forward with my clients as well. So once we break through and then develop that roadmap and the plan and the strategy, and then we figure out exactly what the main mission is by the end of working with me, then we reverse engineer the whole process, starting from day one, and then we get to work and get going.
How long does it take?
I would say, depending on what you're looking to do and develop, and that I would say on average, if you are very much inclined of making that change and you're doing the work and you're doing all the bits in terms of developing, I say 3 months, I would say. If you really put your head down with the elements of developing and then you start to see the sort of transition of things within the 3 months as well.
Amazing. So all you have to do 3 months of your life for a lifetime of amazingness.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. Within the 3 months, you start to see certain things to showcase the fact that it's actually working the way that it wants to work. And then it's just that sort of rinse and repeat and identifying ways you can sort of improve who you're sort of collaborating and working with as well. And effectively build it from there as well. So I always say from 3 months. And then when you start to build and continue, within a year. A lot can happen in a year. You can change your whole life in a year in that regard. So having that sort of roadmap and sticking with that and then aligning that, I would say, yeah, 3 months is when you start to see a shift.
Sorry, for the people listening at home, let's say for someone who's trying to get into the same industry as yourself, what's your best tip, advice that you'd give them? And what's the worst mistake that you want to make sure they look out for?
The best tip I would say is, I think what I said previously, document everything you're doing. Don't leave any stone unturned in terms of documenting, because all of that documentation is what will be the fuel towards your content engine that you can use to continue to develop content, develop ideas, and you can utilize all the different sort of AI tools in order to and expand and develop on your sort of ideas and the content that you're talking about and that you're using across all different social channels as well. So I would say that's the main tip I would say. And the one thing I would say is, don't overstretch yourself, I would say. I would say from the beginning, I think I kind of overstretched myself because there were so many things I wanted to get done and so many things I wanted to do. So I would say, don't overstretch yourself. And I would also say, as much as I talk a lot about, building your own personal brand for job security and more leverage, I would highly advise, do not jump and leave your job without any sort of financial backing, any sort of money that you have in your pocket that you can actually work for a good amount of time, whether it's a 6 months to a year, I would say. Because even for myself, fortunately, I was in a position where I actually had money saved that can allow me to sustain. So then it allowed me to actually really give it a good go. Had I been in a sort of financial situation where I couldn't sort of maintain following me leaving that job, then ultimately I don't think I would have had the courage personally to pursue with that much sort of intensity that I have, which is why a lot has happened for me within the year as well. So I would say, yeah, don't leave your job unless you feel very much inclined, but do not leave unless you have some form of some financial bits that you have to kind of keep yourself secure for a few months, I would say.
And also, guys, just to add on, just one more. Don't start a business without jumping 10,000 feet either, because it opens your mind, it opens your eyes, and it works for Tariq.
And that as well, 100%.
Now, Tariq, we're just about nearly closing up now. But just before we do, I want you in 2 minutes. Normally I give just a bit more, but I'm gonna give you 2 minutes. Pitch me your business, Tariq Peters.
So, I am a personal branding strategist and I'm the creator of the Phases framework. So, it's a credibility driven visibility system that I use not only for myself, but for my clients in order to develop a personal brand that makes you more visible, more credible, so you can attract more clients, more capital, more coverage, media coverage in particular, and more partnerships. Those are the ways that I feel are the most important ways for you to scale and build your personal brand that can attract all these opportunities for you. I work across a range of different founders, solopreneurs, and consultants who really want to make a change in their lives and they really want to use their personal brand to provide more leverage and more opportunity. And they understand where the future is going when it comes down to content, when it comes down to personal branding, and when it comes down to being the obvious choice for yourself to get more opportunities. So I would say that I'm definitely someone to work with in that regard because I've done it. I've been there. I've done it. I understand the ideas of what it means to build a personal brand. I've been working within PR and marketing for almost a decade. So it's a industry that I love. It's an industry that I've been involved with for a very long time. And I was selected as a CIPR accredited PR practitioner. So I'm also practitioner in that regard. And I got a 30 under 30 as well. So I've been acknowledged by the industry. I love the work I do. And I always just want to see people really take their personal branding seriously for 2026 and years beyond.
There we go, guys. You heard it from the main man himself. Now, Tariq, just before we close, we've got a closing tradition. We ask every founder that's came on here if they've got any pain points that they're going through with their business right now that they could use a bit of help on from either the audience, whether that's advice or if they can offer a service. So it is your turn. Have you currently got any pain points in your business that the audience can give you any advice on, or even offer you a service that can help you improve?
I would say the main pain point for me is as I continue to scale, and the plan would be to formalize what I am building into an actual agency as well. So with that, that would be the development of the business brand that I was speaking about earlier. But ultimately, someone that can help me document the journey through the eyes of social media a lot more. I love writing. I write a lot of content. My video editing is very much poor, so I would appreciate any sort of support as I continue to grow as well. And just sort of that documentation of the actual content as well, because as much as I love long form unedited content, I appreciate that not everyone is going to be watching the 10, 20, 30 minutes I have just yapping away. So if anyone can potentially help with the elements of producing that short form content that can really drive interest and drive opportunity as well, then that's something I'll be definitely looking for as well.
Tariq, well, how would people reach out to you? What's your handles?
So yeah, you can catch me on LinkedIn. I'm always on LinkedIn. Matter of fact, with everything I've been talking about with SEO, you can literally search my name on Google, Tariq Peters, and you will find all of my handles as well. My website, www.tariqpeters.co.uk. And yeah, check it out. I have the 12 days of Canva AI, those free interactive tools that you can try. And I'm also working on that ebook, which I'll be sharing soon to help you also build those tools. And yeah, catch me on YouTube. I'm dropping video content every single day for 1,000 days. So I'm not stopping. I'm being consistent. And yeah, just catch me. I'm gonna drop my second video today as well. So watch out for that. And yeah, we keep growing, man. We keep doing what we need to do.
Amazing. Listen, guys, you've heard it from the main man himself. If you guys are looking to boost your personal brand, trust me, just go to this guy. He's I can tell he's absolutely amazing at what he does. He's got a lot of expertise, as you guys know from what you've heard throughout this episode. We'll make sure we put his contact details in the description below. So you're more than welcome just to drop him a message and we'll see where he goes from there. But Tariq, thank you so much for coming on today's episode. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I think I needed to hear this as well, especially being in this game of podcasting. It's important that I build my personal brand. So I will be taking on what everything that you just said. And who knows, I might even just drop you a little message for some help.
Yeah. No, man. Love to hear it. And thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure speaking with you and just allowing me the platform to share my experiences as well, man. So yeah, thank you very much.
Absolutely a pleasure. To the guys listening at home, as you already know, we drop episodes every 2 weeks on Wednesday at 5 a.m. perfectly in time for your morning commute to work. So don't forget to tune in. Don't forget to like, subscribe. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the main three. What else do you need? Just hit the like button and hopefully we'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching and thank you, Tariq.
Thank you.
See you later, guys.